I think we are getting live here. Yes, we are on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And, we're just like going all the places because who just wants to go in one place? All right, let's see if I can set this down here. Happy Friday, everybody, of Memorial Day weekend. How exciting is that? Beach, what's in your forecast for the next 3 days? Beach is in mine. If you know me, you know beach is where I go. Super excited to continue with the One Thing Hormone survey. We're on day number 2. I'm going live every day at 1 p.m. answering your questions about hormones. What's your one thing? We're having such amazing success in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, and people have been reaching out saying, I missed the last one. Are you doing one this summer? I definitely want it. And so I wanted to know if you might be interested because we're thinking about doing it, but we're on the fence, not quite sure. And we want to know if you would be interested. So I'm answering your hormone questions. We've gotten so many responses already to our survey, and the link is up on the banner on Facebook and YouTube. And I think I put it in the title here on Instagram. Just trying to get to our comments section on there, but I'm not able to. Okay. So let's get started with the questions. But first, I just want to share, like yesterday, CS, I'll just use initials for privacy purposes, said that she hadn't been able to lose even 5 pounds in the past 10 years, but she has lost 15 pounds in the mastermind. So if weight is one of your concerns, then definitely the Hormone Balance Mastermind is something you want to check out. I really like to say we had a question yesterday that I answered, and thanks to all of you who submitted these amazing questions about the weight. She says, I'm doing everything right. I am eating correctly. I eat organic. I eat whole foods. I eat plenty of protein and vegetables. I exercise regularly, and yet I still am gaining weight. What's up with that? So we talked about how weight problems at midlife are not a math problem. It's not about calories in minus calories out, that it is a communication problem. And the communicators are your hormones. They're what tell your bodies to burn fat for fuel so you have energy and can lose weight or not. So when your hormones become unbalanced, which, by the way, ladies, we're programmed for this starting at 35 to 40, that's when the uncoupling happens and your calories in minus calories out is no longer coupled to your weight. So the math problem goes away, and in midlife, you have a communication problem. So you've got to address your hormone levels. Hey, ladies, I see a bunch of you here. Welcome. All right, so let's get started with some more questions. Here's one. I definitely think talking about the labs and the need to do many things at once, balance blood sugar, monitor cortisol, sex hormones. She wants it in July or September. All right, so labs, yes. Test, don't guess. Test, don't guess. There are people all over the internet who are going to tell you, oh, you can balance your hormones by eating a certain way. You can balance your hormones by using certain essential oils. These things may help, but what I'm going to tell you is just the real truth, because that's how I am. I keep it real. From New York, we keep it real. It's not so simple once you hit 40. After 40, you really need to have testing to look at your personal hormone imbalances. What are they? And there's 7 major metabolic hormones we talked about yesterday. If you missed that, go watch it. And know where you are and then adjust them so that you are tuned up like a Ferrari. Your body is a Ferrari, ladies. Yes, it is. And if you're not feeling so much like a Ferrari and you're feeling like a Hyundai, there's a reason why. And if your doctor's not telling you the reason or doesn't find it, then you haven't asked the right question or found the right person to help you. So you should be like a finely tuned Ferrari and getting better with age, not deteriorating. But that requires testing, not guessing. So this question gets to the labs. Yesterday, we had a question. Someone said, well, just tell me the tests I need to tell my doctor to do. And so we talked for a long time. Again, if you missed it, watch it, about why that's not going to work. Because that's like going to the hardware store, a Best Buy, and saying to them, when are you going to have the milk that I need in stock? I've been here every week for the past week and you haven't had the right milk. Well, that's because You don't get milk at Best Buy, right? So it's the same thing like going to your doctor, just knowing the test and telling, it's like another language. You may as well go in there and say, blah, 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 right? Because they're going to go, we don't check women's hormones. Who's heard that? Or they're going to go, okay, I'll check the test you want. They're going to do it. And then they're going to read it and they go, oh, it looks fine to me, because they're not taught to know when it's abnormal. It's not their fault. This was me, 20 years ago, because we're not taught this. So you need the test to know where your hormones are, and then you need guidance to balance them. So it's not just like you can know the labs and get where you want to be. All right. Thank you for that question. That was a great question. And if you want to submit your question, hey, Deanna, Dutch test. What's your question about Dutch test? Tell me in more detail. Yes, Dutch is awesome. Tell me what your question is about it. And the link to submit your question on the survey is on the banner over for you guys. And for you guys, it's in the title. So definitely go submit it. All right, here's another question. What do you need to track for vaginal dryness and leaking bladder? How do you address it naturally? And she says, yes, July is awesome for the mastermind. If anyone else is like, I want to get my hormones balanced this summer so I can hit the fall feeling like my best self, let me know in the comments section, because we want to know. If you guys don't want it, we don't want to run it. So we only want to run it if you want it. So we got to know. So tell me, Deanna, what's your question about the Dutch test? I need to know more details. All right. So vaginal dryness and leaking bladder. So these are common symptoms as women age, right? We have that programmed hormonal obsolescence that starts around 35, 40 and escalates until we're in our 50s and beyond if we don't do something to address our state of hormonal impoverishment. That's right. You may have money in your bank account, but if you don't have hormones, you are poor. You are hormonally poor, hormonally impoverished. And if you don't know what your hormones are doing and address what's going on with them, you are hormonally illiterate. I know you may have a college degree, you may have a graduate degree, you may be very successful, but you are hormonally illiterate if you don't know the things that I'm teaching you about your hormones. Your hormones are like the vava in your womb, right? If you don't have them, you don't feel very good. You will gain weight. You will have low energy, hair loss, brittle nails, dry skins, gut problems, mood, memory. Like, all the symptoms. Pretty much there is not a symptom that we have with our health that isn't affected by hormones. So the bladder and vagina are very hormonally sensitive. And when those tissues don't get their hormones, they kind of become like a little petulant 2-year-old banging their fork on the table. I want hormones. And so how do they let you know this? With symptoms like leaking urine, vaginal dryness, right? And so you've got to balance your hormones to address these problems. So I'm not exactly sure what this means. What do you need to track? So what do you need to check for vaginal dryness and leaking bladder and address it naturally? Well, part of that is hormonal impoverishment, hormonal deficiency. So you need to get your hormones checked and balanced, and then you need to address what the problems are that you find. But let me just be clear. There is no reason that any woman should have to deal with vaginal dryness or leaking urine. In this day and age, that is perfectly addressable, often with completely natural treatments. So don't sit there and think, oh, I just have to put up with this, because I haven't been given any answers, because it is very treatable. Okay. All right. Let's see what other questions we have here. All right. That's the same one. Here is another one. How do I keep weight off and have energy to have a balanced, good life? I love this question. Who wants to have a balanced, good life? Me, everybody, right? That's what we want. That's what we're seeking, right? We seek that in our relationships. We seek that in our work, meaningful work, balanced work, relationships with family and friends, and with our health. And I will argue that your health really is your most important asset, because without your health, your relationships don't really matter. Without your health, your work doesn't really matter, because there's some health problems that are going to take away your ability to participate in any relationships or work. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Look at Steve Jobs. And, he had pancreatic cancer. He had plenty of money, but he couldn't add 1 minute to his life. So it's all about the health. So how do I keep weight off and have energy to have a balanced, good life? I guess the other question is who would agree that being a healthy weight and having energy are part of a balanced life? Would you? Yeah, right? We all would. And so if you're not at your ideal weight and you have excess weight and you're having fatigue, are you living a balanced, good life? Probably not. But these are questions we need to ask ourselves, because I find for so many women at midlife, because our doctors, we look to them to tell us how to be optimally healthy, but we don't really understand that they're only trained in the management of disease, not in the creation of health. So we look to them, and we think that all that's possible for us with our health is going to come from our doctor's office with a $30 copay. And unfortunately, it's not. So we're told when we gain weight at midlife, it's our fault that we eat too much and we don't move enough. It's a math problem is what we're told, but it's not. It's a communication problem. And we're made to feel like it's our fault. And we're also made to feel like there are no answers to the problems that we have. And this was my story. Back when I practiced regular OBGYN for over a decade, and I weighed 243 pounds and had chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, no hair, no sex drive, gut problems, mood problems, right? I was just a mess. And the medicine I was taught really didn't have the answers, right? Which is the medicine you're getting at your doctor's offices. And they basically said, all your tests are normal and you're fine and there's nothing wrong. You just need to eat less and exercise more. When I did all those programs and they didn't work. And it wasn't until I found a root cause resolution approach that I learned the truth that for women at midlife with the hormonal imbalances that are the communicators that program your body on how to function or not function, if you don't get those right, you are going to gain weight. 60% of us at menopause are overweight or obese, and it gets worse from there. The majority of us are tired and too tired to live our lives the way we want to live them. And if this is you, what I want you to know is that that is not the way it's supposed to be. It's not what's possible for you. And you need to find people like me who know the truth of what it takes to achieve health. And it starts with hormone balance. So this question, how do I keep weight off and have energy to have a balanced, good life? It all starts with hormones. It's a communication problem. Your hormones are the messenger. So think about it. If you go into any third grade classroom and there's a substitute teacher who got no lesson plan from the regular teacher, and she's in a class with the kids, what's happening with the kids? They're all running around throwing spitballs and playing tag, right? Because there's been no communication of the lesson plan from the regular teacher to the substitute teacher, no communication from the substitute teacher to the kids as to what's expected of them. And so what happens? Chaos. No communication equals chaos. If the air traffic control communication system goes down at the Atlanta airport, what happens? Chaos. Why? No communication. The pilots are up in the sky. I think they said like 28,000 planes go through Atlanta Hartsfield Airport every day, or some insane number like that. 28,000 pilots up in the air, no radio communication. Where do I land? How high do I fly? How fast do I fly? They have no idea. Is that a precarious situation? Yep. You're riding on the plane. Luckily, you probably don't know about this. Then the pilot comes on and says, just so you know, we've lost radio touch with the air traffic control in Atlanta. And what happens? Chaos. Is communication important is what I want you to ask yourself. Yeah, it's everything. Just think about a city, and I consider your body like a city, and Manhattan, because I grew up there, right? And plus the shape is kind of like a human. It's kind of like head shaped at the top, and then it goes out in the body. Anyway, maybe that's too far a stretch for you. But your body is a city of communities and departments. You've got the sanitation department, which is your liver. You've got the water department, which is your kidneys. You've got circulation, which is your traffic arteries, and all the different departments. So there has to be proper communication to these departments and these neighborhoods as to what's happening and what they need to do and what's expected. Just like the kids in third grade class need to know what's expected of them. Sit down, be quiet, open your notebook, don't talk to your neighbors, no throwing spitballs, right? They need instruction, which comes from communication. Your cells need the same thing. Those communicators in your body, for a large part, are your hormones. They originate in your mainframe computer, which is this beautiful thing here, your brain. And they get secreted all over. They're like little messengers, right? Little messengers on horseback, little messengers going by subway, however they get there. And they go to the neighborhoods and they tell the liver neighborhood or liver department, which is your sanitation department, this is what I need you to do, and this is how I need you to do it. Liver says, cool, I got it. I know what I'm supposed to do. Liver functions optimally, which is a key organ for hormone balance, which most people don't realize. So if your liver's not happy, your hormones aren't happy. And this is one of the things I teach in the Hormone Balance Mastermind. So you got to have communication. So it's no longer a math problem. When you're 20, is weight a math problem? Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. When you're 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, it's not a math problem. It's a communication problem. So that is what needs to happen. And Deanna, I'm still waiting to hear what your question was about Dutch test. I will say the Dutch test is my favorite hormone balancing tool. Why? Because these sex hormones are made from fat. I don't know if all of you knew that, but they're made from cholesterol, which cholesterol is animal fat, comes from animals, right? So fat is like oil and your blood is like water. So if you just draw blood to try to check the levels of these hormones, you're trying to check the level of oil in water. What happens with oil and water if you mix them together? They don't mix, right? They immediately separate out. The oil goes to the top and the water to the bottom. One or the other goes to the top or the bottom. They don't mix. So if you try to draw blood to check these hormone levels, it's inaccurate because they're not just swimming around in your blood because they're fat. So they are carried around in proteins. So it's very hard to get an accurate measure. Well, you say, okay, what about saliva hormones? That would be second best. But the problem is that the salivary glands actually concentrate certain hormones like progesterone, particularly if you are on progesterone already. So that's inaccurate also. And the most accurate is the metabolite test, which is the dried urine, the Dutch test. But you have to have someone who knows how to read it. So like in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, everyone does the highest Dutch test, the Dutch Plus, which includes the salivary cortisol. You can check cortisol with saliva and you need to. So we do that. We do all the sex hormones. So estradiol, estriol, estrone, your 3 types of estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, and a whole bunch of other goodness that you get with the test too. So everyone in the mastermind does that test, which is amazing, and also does a blood test with a full thyroid profile, inflammatory markers, all of this. And I teach you how to read it. Which is great because my goal is not just to say, here's your problem, here's what you need to do right now to fix it, but it's to teach you about your body. And I really think that we should get in grade school education on our health more than we do. But that's okay. It's never too late to learn. But we women at midlife are in a particular position where medicine has failed to support us in the way that we need, in the ways that we need at midlife. And so you can't just abdicate control of your health to a medical system that really doesn't understand or know what to do for you. You've got to have a certain level of working knowledge about your health and hormones in order to thrive at midlife and beyond. And so that's why I created this program, because I wanted women to know what was going on now and how to fix it, but also going forward forever and ever and ever. I wanted them to know how to do it. So that's why I created it. So that was a great question. So we use the Dutch in that program, and everybody gets the Dutch, and everybody learns how to balance their hormones. Actually, everyone gets a consult with a physician licensed in their state to get a prescription for bioidentical hormones if they need them. So that's pretty amazing too. We created a telemedicine company. All right, let's see what other questions we have. What questions do you guys have? You can submit your One Hormone Thing question. I've got it over on Instagram in the title, but also over here on for you guys, it's in the banner. So it's http://bit.ly/one hormone, all spelled out. Hey, Deanna, you're welcome. One Hormone, ONEHORMONE. So definitely go submit your question about hormones. All right, let's see. This question is about insulin. How do I know if I have an insulin problem and if it's contributing to my weight issue? Okay, that's a great question. So insulin is one of those 7 main hormones that we talked about yesterday. And it really is the golden thread that leads to all your other hormones. So you've got to tease out the insulin and fix it first, because it's like, did anyone used to knit? I used to knit when I was in college. I lived up in New York. I went to college in Pennsylvania, and all the rage when I was in college, which was a long time ago, I used to make these big wool sweaters with these yokes. Remember the wool sweaters with the yokes that were intricate and they were like this thick? And so I was a crazy knitter, and I had balls of yarn everywhere. And I also had a cat. And the cat would get a hold of a ball of yarn and would toss it around and would be knotted. And then I'd have to find the end of the thread and roll it up. And then I'd have to take it apart and take all the knots out. And if you've ever been a knitter with cats, you know what I'm talking about. So what do you do to unknot a knotted ball of yarn? You got to find the free end, right? Well, your hormones, when they're out of balance at midlife, is like that knotted ball of yarn. And what do you have to do to tease it apart? You got to find the loose end. And what's the loose end? Insulin hormone is the loose end. So you start with insulin, and in the mastermind, that's what we start with. And like I always say, you test, don't guess. If you all are guessing at this and you're like, oh, I'm going to try keto. Oh, I'm going to try intermittent fasting. Oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. You're not going to get to what's possible for you. So love yourself enough to invest in yourself and get the test, right? You want a fasting insulin. You want a fasting blood glucose. You want a hemoglobin A1C test, but you also want someone to help you navigate it who knows what optimal levels should be and doesn't just look at the lab and see what the lab says is normal and go, oh, you're fine. Because this is what we doctors do, because this is how we're trained. And that's what I did for years until I knew better. And now I know that that's why my health was such a mess, is because I was basically looking for a disease to treat with a drug or a surgery, because that's what I was taught. That's what medicine is about. It's about disease diagnosis. What disease do you have? What drug do I need to give you? What surgery do I need to do to manage your disease? That's what it's about. And then I discovered this whole world over here where it's all about functionality, and is your health function optimized or not? Doesn't matter what you call it, right? What matters is what's the function. So there are all these levels of insulin dysfunction way before you get to diabetes. But over here, all they care about is, do you have diabetes or not? So I can give you a drug. Over here, we're like, what is your insulin function? Is it optimized or not? Whole different question. And the quality of your health is directly determined by the questions you ask. That is a quotable. The quality of your health is determined by the questions that you ask. If you ask, do I have diabetes or not? What drug do I need to take for my diabetes? You're going to only ever have disease management health. Disease management health is 1 in 2 of us get cancer. It's heart disease. It's 5 of us. It's half of us over 50 being on 5 or more prescription medications. That's regular healthcare. If you want a higher standard, you come over here and you start optimizing your function. Guess what? No medications over 50, right? Not obese or overweight like the majority of us are once we hit midlife women. You get a whole different standard of care. Now I don't even know how I got on this tangent and what the question was I was answering. But I want you to get that difference. So insulin, that's right. We were talking about insulin. So you want to have those tests done, but then you got to know what to do about it. But insulin affects all your other hormones. Most people don't understand that your hormones, it's like a mobile. I used to have a mobile over my desk in this one office I used to have. And I used to love it because you push one piece and the whole thing moves, right? And I used to use that as my demonstration of how hormones interact with each other. You push one hormone, all the hormones move. They're not in isolation. And I know that you've been led to believe that your sex hormones and menopause have nothing to do with your insulin, nothing to do with your thyroid, nothing to do with your cortisol, but that's a lie. They're all like best friends and they hang out. They're all parts of the symphony. And when you don't have all the members on key, it sounds awful and your health is tanked and you gain weight and you're tired and you can't think. You're irritable. Your hair falls out. You have no sex drive. When it sounds like that dissonant symphony, right? So you have to balance all these guys. But when you get them balanced, it's like the sweetest, most beautiful music that you ever heard. And I don't know what that is for you. Like for me, there's a Bach cello, and I guess it's a symphony or something that I love, right? When I hear it, my whole body just relaxes. And that's how it is with your hormones. When you get your hormones balanced, your body just takes a breath and then it can start supporting you in all the things that you want to do. So you don't have to cut calories to lose weight. It's not about the calories you're eating. It's about your hormones. You got to balance them. Hopefully this makes sense. I see a bunch of you out there. I'm going to wave to everyone. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I look forward to hearing your One Thing Hormone questions. Please go to the link and tell me what they are. And let's see. It's http://bit.ly/one hormone, all spelled out ONEHORMONE. And put your question in and I will answer them tomorrow because we're going live every day at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer your One Hormone Thing questions. I love hearing your questions. Thank you so much for joining me and I will see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.